This podcast comes to you from nerdsthatgeek.com. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another Nerds That Geek special presentation. Joel and Tim's countdown to Party Down.
Are we having fun yet?
We certainly are. We're back to break down episodes 6 through 10. We have not watched 10 yet. We're going to watch that together, and maybe you'll hear some of it, maybe you won't, but that's where we are. We've watched 6 through 9, and we'll talk about those now. Number 6. Taylor Stiltskin Sweet 16 with J.K. Simmons just putting in a world-class soul performance.
J. Jonah Jameson himself.
I was delighted thinking this whole time that man is the farmer's insurance guy after this. Like this was part of his reel as he auditioned to be the dude who says it's okay that your house burned down because farmers you're in good hands. That's a different thing. But like I just every time he said something ball night, whatever he said, I was like, farmers bum 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 bum. Comes back, right? Like that character is in season 2 as well, right?
I think so. Yeah,
I think so. He said like something.
Yeah,
that's most of what I had. So I'm gonna let you try this one. Exotic soups.
Right.
Okay, Kevin Hart as a rapper in this, and then Ken Marino playing opposite him with the history of the microaggressive racism. And then talking about soup. Just that whole premise works so well. And it's just weed smoke, and he's getting more and more comfortable, and he shouldn't be getting more and more comfortable. I know I told you to go with on your discussion, Ed, but I just had to say that. I was like, if you had just sold me on Kevin Hart and Ken Marino with that dynamic, that's an episode. Like
I would have liked to see them stand next to each other, though.
Yes,
I feel like we didn't see that, you know. But yeah, I also one of the nice fun things with this is Kyle having his teeth whitened, but they're like overly sensitive through the whole thing, and like so that's like a fun thing coming through of just him like being in pain the whole time, and Roman flicking his teeth to like with him,
and then him like hooking up with the producer's wife.
Yeah,
and it just not like again a high school thing is like you're in pain, but you don't want to say no to that interact like. This is high school. It's hell and it's high school. Yeah. This is literally a high school party. Like,
so I mean, what J.K. Simmons, like that's one of the sort of shining things of this, just like this whole episode is just like every time he's on camera, just kind of hearing whatever, obscenities he's going to throw out there, and how like I like how some of them are variations. Like I feel like at one point he says about like cutting someone's head off and but then like I'm gonna blow his head off with a bazooka and then down the bazooka hole, like how so he's got like kind of like this he's got this kind of what's the word, template for like the type of insults he does, but he will like change. It's almost like Mad Libs, like insert a word here, like bazooka, like that's I wonder if that's how they wrote this part, like
something explosive.
And then one of the things I mean, this is skipping ahead a little bit, but like when Kevin Hart finally like leaves, because the whole time he's supposed to perform, he doesn't know when, and he's like, I'm gonna fucking kill your family and eat them out and shit them out, and he's good. And Kevin Hart's just like, no, don't do that. Just call my lawyer. like how he's unfazed by that.
Just call my lawyer.
He's like, that's fine if you want to sue me, whatever deal, but I'm not dealing with it. I'm leaving. That's what I have a lawyer for.
There's a great I screenshotted this as the Nerds That Geek origin story to send to John, and it was Roman talking to JK, and JK says, no one gives
Nobody
a
gives
what you
what
think.
you think, dick.
It's like, people care what I have to say. I have a prestigious blog, sir. Nerds that geek origin stories.
Yep, same thing. I was
We
just
are
like,
farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
it's like insert podcast. I have a prestigious podcast, sir.
Now that's a little too close. We're taking that. I won't have it that close. But it's also like, again, Roman does the creepy thing in this one.
Oh yeah, this is where he's like, yeah, like I said, like predatory, where it's like this is a
and it's just
child.
like, it's pity because he's complaining about comic book accuracy, which obviously that is a thing you and I do sometimes. But we're not about it. It's also like they always mess with the comics. And they said, "Did you see Dark Knight?" To shit on it, and then they say no. And he's like, "Oh, we should go." So not only is he,
well, no, she says no.
thing,
my parents said it's too violent. So that right there, like even if he forgot where he was, that he's at a Sweet 16 party, she brought her parents into this, and then he proceeds to be like, "We should go sometime."
They really gave him no avenue for redemption, and it's like that's that dude deserves nothing, no good things. I forgot that context. And
then he's like trying to dance with her later when everyone's dancing, and he's like chasing her around the dance floor, like with his groin, like trying to dance with her.
Stop. Well, on that note.
Well, I love with this one too, like there's the whole thing with Breckenmeyer comes in, and his character, who's an actor, who's like, oh yeah, like I'm gonna get you part of this young Abe Lincoln, you know, and like that whole thing kind of coming up where it's like, oh, like, yeah, maybe Constance was right. You just have to keep believing and keep up the dream, and eventually you'll find yourself in the right place and time with the right person. And like, you're starting to really think that it might happen, you know, and like, oh, cool. But then like, of course, like, you know, it's never the right time because he's yelling at someone else on the phone at some, you know, and then eventually like, and I also love too that like Henry's at that point where throughout the whole show, he doesn't want to say his catchphrase of like, are we having fun yet? But it's like, well, wait a minute. If this is going to make the guy happy who might give me a film job, then yeah, I'm going to own it. And this is, I think that was the screenshot from the GIF that you posted of him doing, because it's like he's into it, you know, like every other time he says it, he's kind of just like, ugh. But like, yeah, it's like when it's like, yeah, like if this is going to get me a job, I'll be that guy, you know. So it was a really cool twist to see. But then it's also like, yeah, like it's an audition, you know. Sure, look at it that way, you know. So it's like, you know, and
it shows you like the kind of guys he has to appeal to in the business, and like what he hates about it, and how easy it was to slip back into it. You know, like he just is like, oh, I'm doing the thing. I love that he described him as like, I described this guy as the new Pacino. Well, what does that make you? I'm the next Costner. I love that little pause. Like he's just so charming. I love that guy. Like it's not been in anything for a million years. I feel like I haven't seen him in a long time.
Probably the last thing was it like Can't Hardly Wait, and then like Road Trip. I think those are the two big things I think I know him from.
Damn, Road Trip. Wow.
And he does a bunch of stuff on he did a bunch of stuff on Robot Chicken too. I feel like he's definitely, I think he does Boba Fett's voice actually on Robot Chicken.
Okay. Yeah. Back from the dead, assholes. Where he's like pretending he's not crying in the Sarlacc pit in a weak way. I didn't totally just get pwned. It's fine. It's fine.
Well, the part when it does like when he's got Han Solo and Carbonite on the ship, and he's like rubbing his hand on.
You don't want to fight anymore. Oh, he's gorgeous. He takes the helmet off. Not the helmet.
But okay, so
and I also liked in that because this is the first inkling that we get that like Henry was talented. It's not just that he had success in something he didn't really like and then kind of evaporated.
Right.
It's that he's genuinely good at it, and we figured that out.
This guy's going to vouch for him, you know. Yeah.
In like a really genuine way, and it's cool. I think it shows, from what I've heard, that's an accurate thing of like actors do like to work with each other, and if they can get a meet. But it's also like how much power they have, and are they able to make the timing work too? Is part of the difficulty of it. So I just thought it was really really specific to Henry's journey is this episode, but also really specific to the nature of the business as I think it is. I don't have no practical experience, but it seems right. Like that kind of you're waiting for the dick with all of the money to have time for you, and maybe he'll consider it if his wife isn't sleeping with the dude you're gonna like that whole aspect of it. It's
like
one episode. It's half an hour. They establish so much in these short episodes. Like it's really impressive.
Yeah.
Almost overwritten. Like I wouldn't say like in a Faulty Towers way. I think at that time and like people they talk about the writing process of Faulty Towers, John Cleese's show after Monty Python, where it's like he was writing twice as many pages because it was just so much physical comedy, so many written jokes. And then this seems very chock full in the same way. Like episodes seem like multiple episodes because there's so many things to track, which is cool and why I love the show. Like I'm so excited. Like I was going into it as like, oh, I like Party Down. I'm like, but watching it through this time, I'm like, oh man, season 2 is really good too. And I was remembering, so I was like really excited. Like the episode where they're at a playhouse. That is I love that episode.
Yep. Oh yeah,
little sizzle for next time, listeners.
What
that one.
say about that, yeah. Well, yeah, and it's so good, like to see, like, and I always wonder. I shouldn't say I always wonder. I just thought of this now, like. When you're writing an episode like this, do you have to have like a little clue board game or something so that like
where they are?
Constance and Casey are talking to the Sweet 16 girl in her room, trying to get her to come out of the room. So that's why Henry's alone for so long talking to this guy. And then at what point do Constance and Casey come out? And then that's when Casey and Henry finally meet up and say, oh, now we're going to discuss this stuff. And he's, and that's another sweet part of this too. When he talks to her. And she's like supportive of him getting back into it, like to just do it, and like, so it's like really cool that like, we see that, she does want him to succeed, which like, I guess you would have to be a shitty person to be like, I really am completely, neutral about what happens to you in your life, but like the fact that she's like being supportive and like, yeah, you should go for it and this and that, which leads, I have a comment about, one of their later interactions in the scene, but I'll wait till we get to that point. But like, when at first they're just kind of talking, but then at the point when, when he's like really like, I think he tries to talk to him. Oh, it's when they go in the room, he tries to talk to him and does are we having fun yet? And then the girl's upset. So then like they leave and it's like, but then he tries again later. And that's when Casey's like, yeah, just do it. And she kisses him. She's like coming on to him, and like, and that's part of what like fuels it. And that's why he does that second try and, is trying to talk to him again. And they're almost there. But yeah, like you were saying, like with the money, like, oh, he's in a bad mood for some other reason now. And now it's like, F you, I hate Pacino, you're not in my movie, like, So then like
disconnected from the creative, excited passion thing too. And I think that's also really important. Like he's coming from this like hungry place and he's being supported by these other people who like want to create, they want to do that thing, and then he's going to the most creative thing he does is his insults like that. It's soulless in that interaction. And
then like at the end when he kind of like when he's talking to Casey and he's like, you still like me, right? And she's like, yeah, but I'd like you more if you were young Abe Lincoln or something like that. And like I think the first time I saw that, I was really kind of like hurt by that, the idea that like, but then like number one, it's like kind of like you mentioned, like that's part of her kind of playful personality. Like they have this kind of like, like insult kind of sarcastic kind of thing. But then also like, and maybe I'm reading too much into this, but I think there is also a sense of, like her kind of coming on to him as she's trying to encourage him to like go and keep fighting and keep trying. It's like, like I feel like people are the most attractive when they are being themselves,
right.
And yeah, like, I mean, maybe people would say this is a shitty thing. I know that when you care about someone, you're supposed to care about someone like at all points of life, even at their lows. But it's like, I don't think she's getting interested in Henry because he's a sad sack who's given up and wants to move in with his parents. It's, like, hey, you're in a rough patch, but this is temporary. Like, yeah, if he's a good actor, he should be pursuing it. He should be continuing with his dream, which, I feel like is, that's ultimately the type of person you want, right? To push you to pursue your dreams, not to be like, I don't care, I'm just banging you, so if you go live with your parents, whatever, I'll find someone else to bang, so it's said in her own way, but I think
Mm-hmm.
that's what she meant by that, is like, you know, like, I want to be invested in you, but as a person who's pursuing your dreams, not as a person who's going to move back in with his parents because he really gave up, Like, so I think that's part of it, is like every now and then we tell ourselves we're giving up, but then a few days go by and you kind of get back on it and you keep trying or whatever, So I think that was like, and again, maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I choose to see it as this very kind of deep statement, that like, and this is something that's come up a lot too. I've heard a lot of people say this when I was younger, like being in a relationship, like this person makes me better. And I was like, I don't know what that means. Like, I'm in charge of how good a person I am. But it's like, as I've gotten older and been in, a healthy relationship, I see how true that is, right? Because like, I feel like, and this is something also from Community, where Abed one time says how like, oh, if you have friends that you care about, like you can change yourself for them. And the context sounds wrong. It sounds like you should just change yourself to be who people want you to be.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's also about like, this idea of, you don't want to be that person who's just like, you, this is who I am. And it's like, well, but who you are is an asshole. Maybe you shouldn't be an asshole, like, so I think there is something to be said for, and the point of relationships is to kind of like reassess who you are and how you're interacting with people, and really kind of get in touch with who you really think you should be, not just be who other people want you to be,
Right.
but allow yourself to consider that, like, oh, maybe I'm not, Roman should do this, maybe I'm not as great as I think I am, I should reevaluate that and see if there are things I can change to become better.
That is a great segue into this next episode. Is such a great model for that, because of what Roman does and what Henry finds himself doing, and seeing what that
I mean, sorry, I wanted to open the door, get through my stuff. So now is your Kevin Hart, or if you want to edit back in. I mean, I definitely did want to talk about that scene. It was just more that was like, I feel like that's such a big chunk in the middle, and it kind of leaves it where it's like, where do you go from there? I feel like that is kind of the climax of this episode, is that whole situation.
It's again, it's paying off the continued thread through the series that Ken is inadvertently really microaggressively racist. And it's interesting how it's played in that setting, and it's him interacting with drugs. So we see kind of a little bit of the past too. And it's like that interaction. He's really comfortable in that setting, more so than he should. And it's Kevin Hart before he was in everything. So it's interesting, like the performance, like I feel like a lot more modern Kevin Hart stuff, he's kind of playing a version of himself. In this, he was like kind of embodying that character, that rapper, which I thought was really, really kind of cool. And the fact that he's like, nobody's going to go to your shop. Like, where this is, right? You need to do some demographic research, because we're not buying that shit.
Well, I love how much too it's like a business conversation, right?
Yeah.
Like, because we never see him rap. I don't know that Kevin Hart can rap Kevin Smith. I don't know that Kevin Hart can rap or not, but it wasn't about that. It was about him as a businessman. Him as like, okay, this is a gig I'm getting paid to do. These are my conditions. I need to know what I'm going on. I need to know this. Where's the food? And it's all that sort of behind the stage stuff, which I thought was really, really, and again, which that's what draws Ron in, because it's like, oh, I want to be a small bit super crackers again. Like, that's motivating. Like, every action he makes is super crackers, so like the fact that that's why he's there, and then that comes into it, and but like you said, they're discussing you need to do demographic research, and it's like, I'm sure Ron took that, was like, oh, that's okay, that's my next step, that's going to be in my next little portfolio, is like, okay, the demographic, or who likes soup, and then I love how much they talk about soup too, like, and the types of white people who eat soup, like, it was so great.
I had written down exotic soups. I can't remember the context, but it's just like the idea of them talking so seriously about it, as a commodity. That's the thing. Like you said about, he makes everything about that. He sees everything through the lens of like, this is a way to get to that thing. And it's really funny how seriously they take soup in this episode. salads and shit, huh? They're known for their soup.
Yeah,
Like, he's like reassuring himself and them as he's
yeah.
saying.
Well, yeah, and that's what I love too. They're having this like business discussion. They're like, "Oh, okay, I never thought about soup. Well, let's talk about soup. Why is or isn't soup a good idea?" Like, they're not just shooting down the idea. They're having this like business discussion about like, okay, how viable is it? Yeah, what's the demographic? What type of soups are we talking here? Like, oh, all you can eat soup. Is that something people want? Like I love that it's like in a lot of ways it is a serious discussion, even though they're all stoned and at this point, and
It is an interesting inversion of like it is the uh, band that is having the problem with timing and getting on stage and all of that. Instead of it being like the talent's problem, it's the party. The party
Right.
is inaccessible to the artist who's booked to play at it, which
Right.
is such an interesting inversion of our expectations in that. Like, and this is again, how long have we been talking about this 30-minute episode in the middle of the season?
Mhm.
We learned so much more about the dynamics of these characters in this episode. Like, I don't know, it's just an interesting another origin point. We're seeing so much more of Ron and again, he's going to do everything to get this thing, and he doesn't. He's not. He's not judgmental about where he's getting advice from, like, and
Yeah.
he shouldn't be because this is probably where he learns the most to improve like his ideas because every other thing he's kind of cloying and he latches on to these guys, but they actually talk to him in a productive and generative way.
Yeah.
Everyone else seems to kind of dismiss him, which I think is
Yeah.
also an interesting place for that character to speak from, and learn from.
I also like the
So.
joke of super crackers. This is why it's the wrong demographic.
He goes, no, 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 no. He's like realizing it for the first. He never put it together. Yeah. It's like you ain't gonna get any of our people in there, man. Like it's not gonna happen. All right, episode 7, Brandix Corporation Retreat. This whole episode, I'm like, good for Casey. Like I love this episode for Casey because it's the first person who treats her like a comedian first. And that's all she wants. That's her identity. That's her dream. That's what she wants is somebody to think that she's funny and to do that, to make comedy the thing that she's doing. And the whole time, like it becomes twisted and gross as Roman interprets it and then Henry interprets it after the fact. But like good for her for like making a connection, interacting with somebody, wanting to work on stuff, and then also making out with a very attractive man. We find out the next episode that they actually got to hook up a bit. But like it's just so the whole time I was like, good for Casey. She deserves to have some freaking validation. Like she's been shit on for so much of this show, like just by life. Not the writers. Like the writers are just writing a really cool character. And in this one, he's like, you're funny. You should be a comedian. Funny that you should mention that. Like, and it's not sleazy, it's not any way the way Roman narrates the situation. And I think that's such an important distinction because much of the action of it is Roman pursuing and figuring out what's going on. And then Henry dealing with his feelings about it and what is the jealousy he's feeling and following it and seeing what he looks like doing it. Yeah, and I think that's so important. And he realizes, he's like, am I that guy? And when Roman is sitting outside of the balcony window, this guy's not a finisher. What? He's just watching a dude just by himself watching the hotel's
he has no hangups, man. That's he's better than us.
Roman's just he's fascinated. It's not even it's gross and it's predatory, but it's also he's just like kind of impressed by it. It's not even like it's a fascination, a morbid fascination with this guy's not a closer.
I
Oh,
also really like one of the things, I know it's kind of like a minor part of this, but like the whole like team building aspect. Like that's,
yeah.
I feel like anybody who's worked in retail has had this sort of experience where it's like, your manager is trying to force you to enjoy your job more
Mhm.
and, to work as a team. But it's always, yeah, I feel like it's always presented in a way where it's like, let's play a game, and that's somehow supposed to transfer to what you're actually doing at work.
Mhm.
Let's play a game that's fun and then go back to your work, which you hate and is stupid, or I don't know if you remember this, but like it was a big thing when I was working retail, the whole like fish philosophy. Like there was a book written about this fish market where every day they're kind of playing, and it's like this whole thing where it's like, oh yeah, we're selling fish, and what fish do you want? And they chop the heads off, and it's fun, and they're having a good time. And I think I don't know if they wrote a book about it or someone wrote a book and by observing it, but then it became this bestseller to like businesses where it's like we
Mhm.
can make our business like this fish market. But it's like, I think the missing ingredient is that the people who own and run this fish market are probably like really passionate about, it's probably like a Bob's Burgers situation, right?
Right.
Like Bob's Burgers is different than people flipping burgers at McDonald's, right?
Right.
Like this is his dream to open this restaurant and be able to make burgers and serve people, and that's what this fish market was. And they're trying to take that and like translate that into like, oh, so when you're selling our stupid clothes to people who don't want to buy it, this is the energy you should have. So like, yeah, like that part of it was just like, that was definitely like, uh, I wish we had another word for this, but like I don't like to say triggering for me because I know that usually has to do with
Mhm.
actual trauma. But
Right.
like that kind of I guess how you said, oh, I felt seen. Like that idea of like, oh my god, like this douchey manager who's just like, yeah, we got to get more excited. And I remember being in jobs like that where the working conditions were like degrading, and as a result all the workers were unhappy, and the manager's solution was, we need to all start working harder and being better at our jobs, and it's like, no, the answer is to improve the working conditions so that
Right.
we're not angry and miserable, which is
The
why
work
we're in this
culture is
business.
the issue. It's not like, and
Yeah,
that's on management to create good work culture to
yeah,
start. Like
yeah.
that, and it's so interesting that like when you are part of a team that's like people who've been around for a minute and like you actually work together and you enjoy it. Team building's fun because it's not just awkward, but everybody's like invested in it, and it's like, hey, this beats actually working. Whereas when you're just part of this loose organization of people who are like, we need a job and we
Hmm.
are forced to sit through this thing again, and we're
Yeah,
introduced to people we have no interest in meeting, and it's all like very surface, very and it's funny that in this episode, it's Ron who is the arbiter of the job training. We see the other guy kind of move in and out, and that's the professional. That's his job. He's like
right.
paid to do it. But it's even funnier because Ron is trying to get them excited, and he is failing so miserably. Like he's the wrong guy to do it. Like it's the material. It might as well have been gibberish in his hands. He had like there
Mhm.
was no chance of it working,
Yeah.
and I think that's really funny.
Well, yeah, and yes, I feel like you see that especially when he's like, "Oh yeah, communication." He's trying to like catch like these buzzwords of like, "Oh, this is what teams need is communication." But again, like playing this game and steering someone, like how does that translate to doing this actual job in a way that you see as better? Like that's not, even though I like metaphor, I'm not going to bother to decode that metaphor because I don't like doing this job. I'm not going to do the work to make me do this job better for you. If you want to tell me, it's kind of like the Office Space thing of like, do you want me to wear 37 pieces of flair? I want you to express yourself. It's like, shut the up. Like, don't try to force me to care about this. Like, if you want me to do a thing, I'll do a thing because I have to, because I don't want to get fired. But don't expect me to, I'm not going to want to do the dishes, don't,
Right.
like that kind of thing where it's like,
Don't make me smile while I'm doing it. Just let me
yeah,
do like tell me what
yeah,
it is I need to do. I will do it and we can stop interacting. Like just
yeah,
like it know what the job is. In the
yeah.
same way, like know your role or stay in your lane. It's just like
Hmm.
understand what you've done, where you've trapped me. Can you
Yeah,
just make it as less misery as you can?
yeah.
Like I had written down that Roman as a character is a great barometer for shit kickery. And I think that is what Henry learns in this episode is there is a way to be in the world. And if you are closer to Roman on that scale, you're doing it wrong.
Right.
And I like it really, and they're very deliberate. When we watch Roman do the interaction with the cart thing, and there's so many opportunities for him to realize what it looks like that he's doing.
Yeah.
As the glass up, he's unfazed.
I love that. Yeah. She walks up, what?
No.
I'm just holding a glass. Like, like completely buys into the fact that I'm not doing anything wrong. You shouldn't be mad at me, like, yeah.
And then when Henry does it, you can see it's like, he's continued, like, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? And it finally knocks loose when he sees Roman there. But he also is kind of shitty about it to Casey when they're doing like the ball sharing thing. Also great is like Ron can't speak until he gets the ball and nobody wants to send him the ball. Like it just like he's trying to do damage control, even though like what did he expect to happen? In the same way, Roman is like berating the porn star about not understanding the difference between hard sci-fi and fantasy. Like, what did you expect the result to be? What positive could you gain from that? What is the winning there? There's not, like, you're only digging yourself further under.
And one of the things that I find fortunate about this episode, or not fortunate about the episode, but fortunate about Roman's actions, is that how much of what Henry does is sort of egged on by what Roman is doing, like, and how much of it is, well, luckily Roman said it so that Henry didn't have to,
That's fair.
I
hear someone say it too. Like Henry can hear it said and hear what it sounds like.
Yeah. So I think in a lot of ways, I think Roman may have saved Henry and Casey's relationship because he ended up being the focus of most of that anger. I mean, she was still angry at him, because he still had some sort of like, under the breath comments kind of thing. Right. So they were there, but they weren't as like in your face as Roman, which maybe they would have been had Roman not been there. So yeah, he's kind of like the Gollum in that episode, like
that's good.
He's not the villain we deserve, but he's the villain.
Well, speaking of villains, Ricky Sargulish, celebrate him, episode 8. This is also a really fun one. And it's another circle of hell because for Roman, this is hell. And it's also like, this is where Roman like tries to save someone's life and he realizes he didn't, and he gets to watch him like, we're going to kill this guy. Like, I liked that. It was hell for Roman. He was like being berated. Everybody else was being treated better than him. Like it was a really good kind of like, that's the punishment. This episode was punishment for the previous episode. I felt like, and like, I love, oh no, there's a joke I had written down where he was saying he fell down some stairs. No, he was like
hit by a rake.
Yes, he was talking about being abused in a relationship. Obviously, trigger warnings. That's not funny. Men get abused in relationships too. But the way Shane Lynch looks at this 6'4" man and says, "You told me you stepped on a rake." Like, she believed him when he said he did the goofy thing, like from Disney, steps on the rake. I love that. I love that so much.
I feel like that's a testament to like Constance's like innocence, right? Like just like, oh yeah, like I'm gonna believe what people tell me, not like, not like, oh, I know what that's code for. It's just like, oh yeah, he stepped on a rake. Like, yeah, I'm sure that happens all the time.
Ow, that hurts. That sounds awful.
My two biggest comments for this one was like, this is the most uncomfortable episode.
Really?
And for me, yeah, like, but between like, well, and part of that, like, I kind of had that realization is I think why this episode is here is that like, and I wrote, so the tension between Henry and Casey is heightened by the whole mobster scenario.
Right.
So like, normally I feel like you have this thing of like, oh, did she or didn't she hook up with Rick Fox? And then it's sort of like, oh, well, okay, I don't know. And plus it's kind of like we had a fight, but maybe she doesn't hate, and then it's like, oh, here's this woman who's interested in me. Well, maybe I should get back at her, like this is kind of like, or maybe not necessarily I should get back at her, or maybe, okay, that's crumbling, so I shouldn't be
I need to
holding out on her.
rebound.
She's,
Right.
Which it has very much Eyes Wide Shut vibes too. Like that's what a big chunk of that movie is. I don't know if you've seen Eyes Wide Shut.
I have not.
Yeah, maybe I'll bring that to the podcast at one point. But yeah, like this idea that like I think she did this thing, so I should do the thing. Even though it hasn't been confirmed at that point. But also like I feel like it does play into that idea where if they were in a relationship and got into a fight, I feel like, oh, okay, I'm not going to let this woman kiss me because we're still in a relationship. We had a fight. But because it's so nebulous, it's like, well, I'm allowed to kiss other people, so why not? Why would I push this thing away? But again, like the layer on top of that is like, oh, this is, her boyfriend is the guy who just got acquitted for murder. And I love how every time they say, oh, that means he's innocent. Like he's acquitted. That means he's, and I think Constance was like, oh, according to a court of law, court of law, like, so like, I think that's part of the purpose of it. And that's what like part of what makes me uncomfortable is that like, it's not just this idea of like, oh, this woman's hitting on me, but the woman I'm interested in is still here. And I still haven't established if, number one, did she do anything with this other guy? Number two, is that the end of our relationship or not? But then that added layer of like, oh, like this guy might want to murder you because you kissed his woman, even though she came on to you, that doesn't matter, like, and just the way that plays out through the whole thing and how like uncomfortable all that stuff is.
And the fact that like the second he can, he's like, Casey, help me, please pretend to be in a relationship with me so that I don't get murdered. And it just it turns. I think I had less anxiety about it because I remembered everybody kind of having a great time because they get treated like celebrities. And it's like, even though the person who seems to feel the most tension the longest is Roman because there's no release. Everybody else kind of gets a release valve on the pressure.
I just had a realization. I may be wrong about this, but so in the episode with the singles thing, remember when he's telling him in the bathroom there are 4 important things in life, and he's like, what is it? Love, friendship, sex, and then Henry's like, there was only 3. That's another one of my favorite lines. Is like, and he can't think of the 4th one. And in this one, when the guy's doing like he's about to propose, and I don't know if he's saying those exact same things, but I know he's listing like the important things in life. And I think he mentions like love, maybe friendship, and then celebrities. That was the other thing. Because like as he's doing this big toast, it's like having the celebrities.
Well, it's also like part of it, he's like woman. Like he just kind of says that one flat. He's like, I've got good friends, I've got loyalty, I've got woman and celebrities. That's how he punctuates. Yeah, that's good. I like that.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back now and watch each of those and see how each one's worded, and if that actually is it. If that's like the punchline to that joke, is that the 4th most important thing in life is celebrities. But well, and that was another thing. Like you mentioned, the part when he kind of grabs her and like we have to pretend to be engaged. Like I love that she goes along with it, which to me was like a good sign, because I feel like if she was really pissed to her core, she'd be like, "F you, man." But like
she senses the danger. I think. She can see that he's like freaking out.
Yeah. And so she goes along with it, and it's like kind of this. I feel like it almost is a way of them coming back together. Like it forces them to talk to each other, to stand next to each other, and at least temporarily resolve some of that stuff. I think that makes it that sets the stage so that they can then have that conversation about why was he because I kissed this woman who ended up being you kissed some I made out with Rick Fox. Like that kind of leads to this conversation of like them reconciling. So yeah, it's always darkest right before the dawn.
I love like the last little joke is as he's leaving, Margulis goes to he's like, what were the notes? Thanks for he's like, how is the syntax?
Yeah, exactly.
Because the whole time he hasn't been using prepositions. but he says, "How was the syntax? Perfect."
Oh, I missed that.
It's the only grammatically correct line he says in the whole fucking episode, and it's to punctuate the joke. He's like, he's been fucking with you this whole time.
I like the part when he grabs his mother by the throat and throws her out a window.
You list all good parts. I send you second draft.
I think this is the episode. This is the second time where Constance mentions, "Oh, the Coke was so good back then." And then she also and I sometimes I'm bad with names, but she mentions Jan Michael Vincent. Is that the guy from Rick and Morty when they're doing the trip? Okay, that was
absolutely.
So that's totally a real person.
Yeah, Jan Michael Vincent is a real person.
So good.
All right, let's do a penultimate episode for season 1, episode 9. James Rolfe High School 20th reunion. Incredible. This episode's so good.
One of my favorites.
And the organizer, what is her name? Melinda. She's in House of Cards, and I really like that actress.
Oh, okay.
But just again, it's high school and it's hell, and it's actually high school and it's actually hell.
Mm-hmm.
And just to watch Ken Marino in this episode, just in the height of the heights to the lowest of the lows, and he's just acting every part of it. Just really great.
I also love
Coolidge. Jennifer Coolidge is in this episode,
mm-hmm.
and she slots in so perfect. And the backstory is that she ran over Constance with her car to take her out of the running for a role, and I don't even think she got the role. Like that is the level of brilliant that this is.
Well, I love that too, and I forgot about that by this point, and I forgot what episode it was, but it's either 1 or 2 where Constance is telling either Kyle or Henry, like, "Oh, I was auditioning for a role and I got hit by a car, but I read Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance and it blew my mind." So I love that, like, it's also a callback to that, but also that they remember, like, you were the one who hit Constance. Like, they knew about that, they remembered that fact, and and how she's like, "Oh, she read it and it blew her mind," and it's like, is that what you told her? Like the fact that she says that so exactly, she read it and it blew her mind. Like, is that something you told her? Like, read this, it'll blow your mind, and then it'll be, everything happens for a reason. I hit you with my car so that you could read this book and it would blow your mind. Like, I wonder, like, it makes me wonder how much of that was Constance's idea of, like, oh, this is why things worked out, or how much of it is her telling her that so that she'll be okay with the fact that she hit her with her car.
The whole the dolphins laughing thing is just like, she just, whatever, you could give her any line of dialogue and she would have made it work. It was so good and so all at once. Like, it wasn't like you gradually revealed her character. She just you knew it within 2 seconds. And this is the first kind of establishment of like the changing roster, right? Because we get Jane, I think in this last episode that we're going to watch here live, folks, and then we're starting to realize that this is a roster that can change. And that's kind of a cool ass. And also the way that they plugged Coolidge right in, just right in the same space. It was a little bit different. I don't know, like it wasn't quite Michael Scott and Will Ferrell, like D'Angelo Vickers. It wasn't that kind of that anticipation or trauma, but like that was a really good slot in. Like, if you could almost imagine the other universe where Jennifer Coolidge was in that role for the whole of the season. I loved that. I loved that it seemed modular. It made the cast seem modular in that way.
I love too that, like, she comes in, and we talked about, like, with Constance, where like she has this sense of toxic positivity, but like the way she presents it and who we know her to be, it makes it almost more palatable, and it's more like more genuine. I don't know I don't know why it's okay, but it seems more okay than it would be to the average person. Whereas with Jennifer Coolidge, like, she is the average person who just, "Hi, you just met me and you know nothing about me, and I'm just gonna throw all this toxic positivity at you, and it's this, and you got to listen to the dot, you got to smile 50 times a day." And it's so much more, again, like, a lot of this harkened back to my new age phase, where it's just like, someone who's never met you, they've got this kind of list of 50 things, do these 50 things that are all stupid and it'll change your life, and which also I feel like ties back to episode 2 with the Republican thing of work hard and you'll achieve your dreams, and it's just like everybody's got their thing that they think works, you know, and so like I think it was neat, and that's what made her, I feel like, different enough. You know, it wasn't like they were doing Constance but with a new actor. Like you saw that she was like a shitty version of Constance in a way, you know.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that, like, when she's like, you have to come see this mug. And this was the other thing too. I feel like this is the perfect, I wrote the slogan down: follow your dreams to the max, amen. Like, you know, like it's
It's a
like follow your
horse,
dreams,
right?
that's not good enough, that's not good enough, you know. Everyone else is following their dreams, you have to follow your dreams to the max. And then, oh, we also have to make this a prayer somehow too, and so amen, you know. And it's just like, and the fact that she thinks that it's like so profound, you know, and it's like, you know, and it was just like, god damn, like, you know, how many people I knew like that, who like, and you know, she's being written as a caricature, and it's like, no, there are people like that. There are people who will see that mug as a sign from the universe that they're supposed to follow their dreams. Yeah,
and it makes you miss Constance. Like it's this plug in, but it's also like it works in contrast. It's the bizarro Constance almost. Like you're getting
yeah, and like Constance is awkward, but she's got a good heart. And you kind of realize like, oh, I've grown to love her. Like she makes me uncomfortable, you know, but you know, she's a good person. Whereas with Jennifer Coolidge, like she's kind of like, too wrapped up in her own shit, and you know, and just kind of like, you know, oh, I'm gonna fix Henry because, you know, that's my job. And if he doesn't achieve his dreams, it's because he's not following my advice about all the stupid shit he needs to do, you know, like. So also with this being a high school reunion, I also really enjoyed that it's a reunion of, you know, Ken Marino and Joel Trulio from The State, and then to Wet Hot American Summer, and then to this, which I think I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but I think I wonder if that's how Paul Rudd kind of got mixed up with these people too, is from Wet Hot American Summer. But like, like because the two of them are like best friends in Wet Hot American Summer, so like they're kind of together. Not together, because like one of them goes to like be with this woman, you know, and it's just, but they're like best buds in it. So it was super cool to see them together, but also as like it's almost like they were those same two people who were best buds back at summer camp like 20 years ago, and now they're
one
like,
of them
oh,
grew up.
Yeah, so that was really fun to see too. And
Trujillo on the fucking ground with his ass hanging out, just doing just delivering outstanding comedy. It's laid down comedy. He's doing laid down pants off comedy, and it's hilarious. And it's only eclipsed in this episode by Ken wallowing in the pool of projectile vomit.
The funniest thing I've ever fucking seen is that scene. Call the ambulance.
This time watching it, I was just like, that's an actor, man. Like, I don't know what Brad's doing. I don't know what Brad Pitt is doing, but this dude, that's the craft.
Yeah, you're definitely like that guy's dying. Like he needs medical attention. Like
and not in a pretty way, in like a real life way. He is like that ugly dying.
I love how they were able to do it too, like cut it, because like I feel like a lot of times in movies when someone throws up, they'll be like, bleh, and it's like a mouthful. It's like, oh, you were holding that in your mouth and you spit it out. But with this, the way they're cutting back and forth, like at first he's like, bleh, and then he's laying there, and then more comes out. But like you could tell they were like cutting back and forth, but like you see the pool growing, where it's just like
this is really gross, listeners, but like the consistency of what they used.
Oh god,
I've never seen something more accurate. And the way it moved as it grew. Again, I'm sorry, listeners, this is really gross. If you need to skip ahead, please do. But like, it was the right viscosity. The props. I was going to say this earlier. Like, the production value of this show is phenomenal. And I don't think you realize it because the catering shit is so cheap. Like that, all of the locations, the places that they go and what they shoot around is really immersive. You believe those are real spots. But I don't know if it's the way it's cut or the way it's shot. It almost has that handheld, like office documentary style a little bit to it, the camera work. But like where they are and what they spend money on it, with the exception of the prosthetic dong for in that episode, like they they seem to be spending money on important, to comedy. Vomit is an
Right.
important investment on your props agenda. I think we should just roll the next episode.
Okay.
All right, here is episode 10 of season 1 of Party Down, Sennheiser Pong Wedding Reception. And I'll get this started. We're at 0-0 on the counter. We'll start it in 3, 2, 1, play. Staz. Can you hear it on your end?
Yeah.
All right, cool. I can't remember which wedding this is because there's a couple weddings that we see. I think this is the. Oh, this is the other. Valhalla is in this one. The other catering company.
That's right. Yeah.
We like to see that.
See, that's nice. They work things out.
Making out. Oh shit. The writing, because this is the cruise. She finds out about the cruise in this moment. Sorry.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
He has flashcards for the boat and the captain metaphor. Is it working?
The boat and the captain. Holocaust thriller.
Oy vey.
Veronica Mars herself.
This show. The evil caterers. Like there are evil caterers in this episode.
I wish on The Office there was an evil paper company. It was like trying to...
Driving.
That's the first time that's ever happened.
Coolidge has been holding that glass this whole time. She's just holding. Ooh. Ooh. She's so perfect for this show. Like this is such a great injection of a different energy.
Yeah.
He's a little
He's so shaken.
So flustered.
Yeah.
What is the hair for?
See the Kyle of the group.
She's doing such great acting, like the eye acting of listening to the Bluetooth call. She got laid 3 weeks ago, so she's good. Like that. Oh, I
I
like
like
her.
how she says, as for the blonde, I feel like usually it's a man referring to a woman as the blonde, but it's like her referring to Kyle as the blonde.
It's a
Yes.
good line. It's a
Yeah.
good line.
Let's
Rings
go
true. I
rub our
like that one.
parts together. Oh
Oh
God.
God. Fucking Coolidge.
What a mess.
Coolidge is unhinged. I totally spaced that. That was the thing. Drop a cap. I mean, fair, fair.
Yeah. What a mess.
I'm pausing it briefly. The fact that they wrote Jennifer Coolidge onto this show, and then within an episode, her gimmick, the thing that she's doing in this episode is being high on magic mushrooms. Like the audacity to do a perfect thing, just to write a perfect thing for a perfect actor. All right, listeners, we're at 7:30. I'm going to hit play here in 3, 2, 1. So he's scrambling, right? Like he's thinking she's gonna
Yeah.
leave. So is it like work? Just do the work.
Well,
He's
no, I don't
also
think he knows
responding
she's
to
going to
her,
leave yet, right?
right?
She hasn't told him yet. I think it's more just like he sees Ron like panic and jet, and it's like, oh man, I have to hold this stuff together.
That's fair because he's on the way down. Like he's
Yeah.
through a downward spiral, and if anything's gonna get done, stupid. Judy Dench, they lost Judy Dench. That's a great line. I went to college. I didn't, but I still get the irony. got her glass. She's had that prop the whole episode. Jennifer Coolidge. Does she come back next season, or is she only in there for these 2 episodes?
I think next season at some point Megan Mullally comes in instead.
Yeah, like Megan comes in and takes like the constant slot, but Coolidge is hilarious. He's looking out for his buddy.
Yeah,
it's good. He looks better. Like he's shaved up. He's like taking care of himself.
Mm-hmm.
Fair. Ron is drunk in the back of this van. Oh, poor guy.
Those pants are
I forgot he tagged it with.
like she goes to climb in the van with him, and he's like, "No."
That out of breath cry thing.
Yeah,
You never see that in stuff. So many 60.
Oh God, that's asking a lot.
You really see how good an actor Adam is in that scene. Like, he's like, I am trying to hold it together.
Didn't he switch it too?
Yep, he turned it
switched
around. He's just doing a 1 in, 1 out situation.
Oh God.
Which is too funny. Once again, a circle of hell.
Yeah.
He is. I was just saying that. These are Sonics.
Oh God, I love how much everything is falling apart.
He just leans into it. Don't stop believing.
Grandpa's eyes.
The claustrophobia, so much is happening so
Mhm.
quickly.
Yeah.
He just sizes him up. Ouch.
What a
Present.
child.
You're not to look up. God
Oh
damn
God.
it. It's hell. It
So
is
much is
hell.
happening. Oh, here he
Oh
is.
my God. Could have been done. You could have, it's so much opportunity to not be the dude you are.
Yeah.
And he just triples down.
Yeah, like he's gonna come back.
Yeah. What? This. The worst of the worst.
Those are like the worst urinals too, because there's like they don't have
Yeah.
the little divider in between, plus they don't have like the edges. It's like
This is like, it's like an outhouse. It's like in somebody's house, they put two urinals. He didn't write the fucking show. This is a nightmare, literal nightmare.
oh
Talking to
God.
somebody at a urinal. Mother. Doesn't he end up getting food poisoning despite that? Like,
Yeah, I forget what happened.
the vomit acting
Yeah.
acumen here. Vomit acumen.
Well, it's gonna get worse.
A lot of this is like unsaid stuff. Like they're
Yeah.
really good. Wrong. Wow. I feel like the first time I watched this, I was totally unfair to her. Like, this is so, of course she does this. Like,
Yeah.
why wouldn't she go and pursue this? Like, that's not, that's, that's self projection. You're fine. Go do you.
What's also I feel like that's sort of like that type of thinking is for normies, you know, like if you're in that sort of industry, like that's your life. You got to take the gig, you know, like
Yeah.
uh-oh.
This has come back already.
Oh God. It's your wedding, dude.
Oh my God. He latches so much.
What the fuck?
Jennifer Coolidge is talking about a clump of parsley. She thinks it's a merkin. Oh, that's hilarious.
Oh God.
Oh, poor guy. Is that Sulu? And now it becomes Sulu's hell because he's stuck there.
Oh no. I feel like that phrase "oh no" is like a through line in this
Yeah.
whole series.
That's on the show Bible. Oh no, the series.
Yeah.
She's so good. So good. Such a great
Yeah.
actor.
Oh.
Big dumb animal.
Yeah, yeah.
What a line.
The new base jumping film.
Hard R, that's fun. Don't do that anymore. Oh no, they killed Sulu.
Oh, so sad.
Does somebody come and say it to him? I think.
Um,
Oh no, he gets the. So much has happened to this guy in this afternoon. Oh, I
that's
can't
it.
remember what the tag is. Because don't they have an after credits thing?
Oh, yeah.
Or is yeah, they always do.
I mean,
That's one of my
usually-
favorite things.
Yeah, there you go.
Back to Coolidge. Oh, do they hook up? She answers.
Sorry, Scott.
Yeah, you do. Oh. Henry doesn't even think he deserves to look at the fireworks.
Yeah.
That's how miserable he is. That distance is so important. All right.
God damn.
All right. Real quick, final thoughts post-mortem on this. I'm still having fun. Are you still having fun?
Yeah, I've been having fun yet since.
I remain having fun. Well, we'll see you all next time for episode 1 through 5 of season 2 on the countdown to party down. I'm having fun yet.
I'm having so much fun yet.
The
Well, wait,
revenge.
no, that way it sounds like a question. It sounds like I'm having fun yet. It's like, no, yeah.
Yes, I like that too. I'm having fun
Yet.
yet.
Are we having fun yet?